Hello, my name's Amy. I'm an indie author with 9 published books, and today I'm just having a bit of a sit-down chat over a cup of tea. So there has been a lot going on in my writing life this week. I had plans to do all sorts of different videos on all these different topics and the different things I was up to, and I decided it wasn't really worth the hassle. I'm just going to roll everything into one video and talk about what I'm up to right now. First of all, the one big thing, which you may have already seen if you follow me on social media, is that I released a book this week. The book in question is, of course, Cybernation. This is my cyberpunk novel. I've been working on it for actually over a year now. I mentioned it on and off in different videos. I wrapped up the editing for it in the middle of January, and to be honest, there didn't really seem any reason to wait to publish it. Everything was ready. The cover was done. I spent a little bit of time finalising my blurb, but that didn't take long. And then all there was left to do was publish it. I know I haven't actually given an official blurb on this channel, and I don't have it right in front of me, so I can't do it now either. But this is a book about cyborgs, about rebels, about who gets to decide what is classed as human, and there is a really big vote involved, by which you can probably tell that I've been watching too much UK news recently. But essentially it's a science fiction thriller, and I like to think of it as a thriller with big ideas. It was a huge amount of fun to write, and I've had good feedback from the small number of people who've read it so far, so I hope you guys will enjoy it too. It's available now on Amazon, just on Amazon right now. More formats are in the works, and it's also on offer at the moment for just 99p, though that won't last much longer. To be honest though, I'm not really here to sell you the book. This has always been a channel to talk about writing, so releasing a book, let's talk about that. I always think I'm going to feel kind of jubilant when I've released a book, and there's certainly an awful lot of satisfaction in it for me. But at the same time, I don't want to call it a letdown, because that doesn't seem fair. I've spent a long time working on this book, something like 14 months altogether. But at the same time, I haven't had a massive celebration. I don't feel like there's fireworks going off or anything like that. I think the problem, and this is particularly true if you are an indie author, is that I just feel there's an awful lot of work left to do. I have ads already set up, some have not gone live yet. I've got a lot more work to do there, and there's just generally a lot of promo and stuff like that still to take care of. Of course, this is an ongoing thing. You never really stop talking about your work as an indie author. But it does mean that release day just feels like the prelude to more work. Having said that, I'm immensely proud of this book. I am so pleased that Cybernation is now out there. I've wanted to write science fiction, and specifically cyberpunk, for a long time. There's quite a lot of cyberpunk around in the media at the moment. We've had the maybe ill-advised Ghost in the Shell remake, there's been Alita, there's been Blade Runner, Altered Carbon, the new cyberpunk RPG coming out from CD Projekt Red, or whatever the studio is called now. And it very much felt like a time for me to be writing this cyberpunk book that I've wanted to do for ages. So I'm very pleased that it's out in the world now. So obviously, link will be below if you do want to check it out, but let's move on to other things. This week I also released the second video in the Write a Novel With Me series. I have been thinking more about this book I'm writing. I don't honestly know what to call it. It started off being called Scion of Shadow, but it's also merged, as I talked about in that last video, with a series called Aeons. And now in my head I'm kind of calling it something like The Mythic War. So it doesn't even have a code name at this point. I don't have any major updates about the project at the moment because obviously they'll be going into the video series. But I am still working on it, and I have specifically been working on some world building articles for the story. They are going into my World Anvil account, which I will also link down below if you want to have a look at that. There are articles in there for other stories too, because this is the wider setting of Eterna, but there's definitely some Mythic War stuff in there, and I will be talking about this more in another video, but I know there might be quite a long gap between videos 2 and 3, so if you just want to keep track of what I'm doing, have a look at World Anvil. And now I'm kind of left wondering what's next. My plans for what to do once Cybernation was released have changed over time. Originally I was going to go straight back to a space opera series that I was drafting in the summer of 2019. That is still very much on my radar, but at the same time I have a steampunk series that has been sadly neglected over the last couple of years. I always wanted to do a 4th and possibly final book to the Flight of the Lady Farine series. I actually wrote about 25,000 words of it a couple of years ago, and then I realised I wasn't going to finish it before I had my daughter and I put it on hold. But I also really want to get back to that because it is time I wrapped up that series, or at least made sure it doesn't end on a cliffhanger as the 3rd book currently does. So I was thinking maybe I'd work on that, but the space opera is still there in the back of my mind. And now I'm thinking I might work on both at once. For the last few weeks, I have been designating a primary project, which has been Cybernation, and then a secondary project. Some weeks that will be my serial fiction, some weeks it's YouTube, and some weeks it is Mythic War stuff. Having the primary project be an editing one and the secondary one be drafting though has worked really well for me. I feel like I'm getting a lot of work done without losing focus. So now I'm thinking instead of making the steampunk book my main focus for the next few months, I'm actually going to keep that as the space opera. I am going to be editing as my main project. But that means if I want to finish this steampunk draft, that is going to have to be my secondary project most weeks. This, incidentally, is why the Mythic War stuff is possibly going to get pushed aside a little bit. I am still working on it, but it can't be my focus at the moment because I have other things that need finishing first. So I think that's where my focus, for the next few weeks at least, is going to be. I'm going to be editing the space opera, which is called The Oracle's Bones. I have talked about that before. And as my side project, I'm going to be writing the steampunk book, which has been so sadly neglected. I do need to keep some drafting work in progress though, because in about 3 weeks I am going on a writing retreat. This is something I haven't talked about before. In some ways I am a little bit nervous, but at the same time I'm very excited about going. But I want to be drafting while I'm on the retreat because I don't think editing is going to work there. I prefer to edit on my PC, I've said that in previous videos. I will only have my laptop with me while I'm away, so drafting. That's where the steampunk book is probably going to slot in. I know the world and characters really well because it is the 4th book in a series, so I'm thinking that will be really good to work on while I'm away. I will be talking about this writing retreat more in future videos. I don't know if I'm going to vlog it. I am really bad at vlogging around other people and they are all strangers. I don't know anyone in advance. And also the people then might not want to be filmed. That can be a bit uncomfortable turning up in other people's videos. So I might not vlog it, but I will talk about it when I get back. The very last thing that I want to talk about before I wrap this video up is that we are currently in the process of selling this house. It is possible over the next couple of months that this channel will be going on hiatus as we move. We don't actually have anything definite to move into yet, so big changes are ahead. I will try and keep you all updated though, and I will still be updating social media. So, you know, follow me on Instagram and Twitter and all those places which are linked down below. In the meantime, I have got lots of books to be working on, as I have just detailed. I don't have any deadlines for them yet. As I made a video earlier in the year, I am not setting writing deadlines this year, so I can't really tell you my publishing plans for the rest of the year, but I'm very hopeful that both the steampunk book and the Oracle's Bones come out this year. So those are all my updates. Please tell me in the comments what you are up to. I always like to hear what everyone is working on. And if you decide to check out Cybernation, let me know that as well. That's always really nice to hear. So that's it from me today. Keep writing, everyone, and I'll see you next time.